Good evening, my friends. Tonight, I'm trying to get us unstuck. So, we're going to pull from either the Kawaii Tarot or the Rider-Waite Tarot. Alright? Take a second, breathe, vibe with the decks. Choose yours. The timestamps will be down below. And remember the question, how do we get unstuck? How do we move forward? I'll see you in your reading. This reading is for my friends who chose the Kawaii Tarot. We're going to start off with a message from the Sacred Geometry deck, just to figure out kind of where we are right now and what might help us, wiggle out a little bit. A little bit of information about where we are always helps. Then we'll move on to the Kawaii Tarot, and we'll finish off the reading with a message from the Wild Offering Oracle, because she always makes me feel a little bit better about where we are. Alright. Sacred Geometry deck. Where are we now? How do we wiggle loose? Where are we now? Ooh. Flew out. Landed right on the Kawaii Tarot. We have transition. The frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever-changing nature of existence and our lives, so that we can learn to let go, surrender to the process, and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. So, this may be a time of change for us, and maybe we need to allow that to happen. Maybe we need to let go and let God a little bit. So that's where we are right now. I'm going to stick this over here. And now we move on to the Kawaii Tarot. How do we get unstuck? Please help my friends who have chosen the Kawaii Tarot get unstuck from their sticky situations. How do we wiggle free from our resistance to transition? Alright. We start with Judgment, which is, of course, a card of change and transition. This is the Rebirth card. And we have the Three of Cups, which tells me this has something to do with our relationships with other people, which is what the Three of Cups kind of represents, is that familial and friendly relationships. So this feels like a transition in your social or family life, a transition in your connections with people outside yourself who care about you, who you may care about. And this may be making you uncomfortable. This may be a difficult transition for you. You may be getting to know someone who you hadn't gotten the chance to know in the past. You may be seeing change in someone you didn't think could change. And those kinds of things are hard. You may be in a situation where things are changing and you don't want them to, with your relationships. But if we allow these changes to happen with grace, then we may end up in a better place. So we have here the Five of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups. So the Five of Pentacles is a card of having access to stability and riches, but perhaps resisting taking ownership of it. And then the Ace of Cups is a card of spiritual overabundance and abundance of loving relationships in your life. So this could be that you're in a situation where you need to claim the positive relationships that are trying to exist in your life. You may be resisting some people who are trying to come in and be a part of your life. You may be resisting kind of your own joy. How do we accept this transition with grace? The Ace of Pentacles. This is a card of physical, financial abundance. I also equate the Pentacles sometimes with time, because our time has value. So, because you're getting Cups and Pentacles, this is definitely actual relationships with people that need a new beginning, a tangible, stable new beginning. Oh, the Fool just popped off the bottom of the deck. We're gonna let them visit right over here. There we go. You can see them. So this card is a card of great potential. It doesn't tell us if something is good or bad. What can we expect from this transition, from allowing this transition? Ooh, did you see that? They did some acrobatics. All right, so from accepting this transition, we have Temperance. So our movements, our choices are measured. We think about things before we do them so that we can make the best choice. We are fair. We think things through. We gather all the information. The Queen of Cups. Someone who's receptive, because the queens are not necessarily female, feminine energy. They're a receptacle. They're a receptive space and energy. And this is a spiritual, receptive energy. So this is someone whose very presence kind of gives a sense of like depth, you know? This is someone who is possibly spiritual, maybe isn't necessarily like connected to the ground, not very grounded as a person. So this could be a literal person. This could be you. This could be someone you know, someone who the relationship that you're trying to change. But whatever the case, we have another cup. We have more receptive energy, more spiritual energy. And then we have the Nine of Wands, which is a guarded emotional energy. It's kind of an energy of having dealt with a lot of chaos and seeking order and peace. So from this transition in the relationship, we can definitely expect you to be guarded. Oh, I started shuffling the wrong deck there. What the hell? Okay, that was wild. Wait, but we got the Nine of Wands again when I picked up the wrong deck because I was spacing out. We got the Nine of Wands again. So there's definitely a lot of guarded energy there. You're very guarded against either this Queen of Cups, or you're the Queen of Cups and you're feeling very guarded. Like normally you're real receptive to people, but you're just real resistant to this one person. And then finally we have the Tower. So we can expect a rapid shift in this relationship. Accepting it with grace requires us to kind of just be receptive to whatever is happening, just accept things as they are, and find our peace inwardly. But it feels like there's very much like, no, you don't have any real control over what's going on here. But accepting it with grace may require boundaries. There may be someone you need to lay down some very clear boundaries with. You need to be observant, receptive, and open to changes in the relationship, and lay down clear boundaries. Don't wait for things to happen. Don't wait for the worst thing to happen. Don't wait for something sudden and crazy. Before that comes about, you want to be laying down boundaries. Be receptive to other people's opinions, but don't take them as, the way to go. The Ace of Cups being at the center here tells me that ultimately the outcome will be good if you're willing to have a balanced relationship with the people around you, and you're willing to keep things fair for yourself. Like, don't be giving too much of yourself to other people. It's okay to be receptive and loving, but it's not okay for yourself for you to be a people pleaser, if that makes sense. But ultimately, this Ace of Cups in the center, we're led with love. The situation comes down to our choices, and we want to make sure we are leading from the heart. So in order to accept this change with grace, we lead ourselves with love. We understand that there is positive potential in here as well as negative. We keep it fair and balanced for ourselves mostly. Don't be afraid to take up the space that you deserve. Don't be afraid to lay down clear boundaries in your relationships. Don't wait till something major happens in order to implement change. Your greatest strength is going to be your receptive nature and your spiritual nature as well. Okay. Bottom of the deck, we have the Knight of Cups. More of that, Cups. And the Emperor. Okay, hi. And then the Three of Swords reversed. Now this card, don't let it scare you. Don't let it scare you. This, the way I read, this is the word of God penetrating your heart. This is a truth that you couldn't have thought of, that struck you suddenly because of some information that you've received, some truth that you learned. This could be positive or negative, but it's something that's difficult for you to accept as truth. This could be you having trouble accepting that a person has changed or a person could be good. This could be you having trouble accepting your own intuition as well. Whatever the case may be, I don't want to send you in any, directions that don't feel correct. So do what feels correct for you. But it seems to me that you should trust your discernment. Yes, it does seem to me that you should trust your discernment. Accepting changes in relationships with grace can be hard. Can we get a little guidance? It's difficult to trust after we've been betrayed. It's difficult to stand up for ourselves when we've never done it before. I'm now available to receive all who can benefit from my work. Use me to relieve suffering on the planet. May all who need me find me. The divine is my complete source for all prosperity and will provide. I wonder if this has something to do with work for everyone watching or for just a few. I wonder what your interpretation of this is. I have my own. I don't want to taint your individual interpretation by telling you mine, because mine is biased based off of my own personal experience. So, I would love to hear in the comments what your interpretation of this particular card is. In the context of this reading, how do we move forward? How do we unstick ourselves? And how do we accept with grace the transitions in our relationships that are currently happening? Maybe it has to do with you working more or working less. Maybe it has to do with you changing the way you work. I'm very curious. Thank you so much for joining me. This was our last card. I appreciate you spending your time with me because I know that you could spend it anywhere. So thank you for spending it with me. I hope you have a good evening, and I hope that this reading was helpful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Hello, this reading is for my friends who chose the classic Rider-Waite Tarot. We are tonight going to start with the Sacred Geometry Oracle deck, and then we'll move into the Rider-Waite, and then we're going to finish off with the Wild Offerings Oracle deck. Just because she usually has something pleasant to say, and it's a good way to end a reading. We'll start off with the Sacred Geometry deck just to see where we are and see if maybe there's a way of wiggling loose from this place that we're stuck in. Oh, change. That's very fun. The frequency of change supports our ability to gracefully dance with the forever changing nature of reality, both inward and outward, so that we can appreciate the sweet release of the old and the birth of the new. All right. So you're in a place where change is happening and you are not in control. So we're having trouble accepting that things are changing around us. Okay. Similar to the last one. They got a different card, but similar to the Kawaii deck. I'm very interested to see how this reading goes. For my friends who chose how do we gracefully accept change? How do we gracefully accept the change? Woo. Oh, interesting. This is different. So, gracefully accepting change requires that we are open to all possibilities with the Fool. It requires daily, regular work, habit-building work, work that improves your skills. This is the Eight of Pentacles is a card of daily, habitual work in order to improve your skills. And then the Knight of Swords is an interesting one. This is a card of seeking truth and destroying lies. So this is someone who really seeks true honesty and integrity, or who has true honesty and integrity. So this could be you. This could be the qualities that you need to have in order to change in the way that you want, in order to accomplish this change that is your goal, right? If you want to get unstuck, you want to change, right? You want to accept the change that's trying to manifest itself in your soul. And in order to do that, you need to be open to the change. You need to be willing to work for the change. And you need to stand by your own morals. You need to have great, deep integrity. Okay? You need to believe that you are worth the work. And that your improvement, that the change itself is worth the work. What's your why? All right, friends. Let's see. Help us unstick ourselves. How do we accept with grace? Wow, an explosion. We'll start with these cards that landed up here, and then we'll move on to these cards that landed down there. All right, we have a couple of threes here. We have the Three of Wands, which is a card of waiting. Waiting. It is not a card of action. And then we have the Three of Pentacles, which is a card of teamwork. It's a card of using your skills within a team. So it's like you're waiting for an opportunity to use your skills or to show off the skills that you have. Ooh, we have the World. That's just everything. Everything, positive, negative. I personally feel that it is similar to the Fool in that it is a card of possibility. It can be a card of growth. It's a card of success, mostly. They say the world is in the palm of your hand. Yes. It's like your skills and your integrity will lead you to the most success. Now, I'm not sure which was where, but let's read it. Let's read them this way. And we'll talk about the possibilities with them being reversed. So, move things up so you have a better view, my friends. The Ten of Cups is a very positive card, just like that World with the Fool. Whatever change this is, it has the potential to be very, very positive for you. With the Emperor, it also has the potential to require a lot of responsibility from you, a lot of leadership, follow through, action. The Emperor is the most momentous card, I want to say, in the deck. In that the masculine energy is a push energy. It moves forward and inclines the things like in its way to move forward with it or be trampled or moved aside, you know? The Emperor is very much that push energy, but it's not like a destructive push energy. It's a constructive push energy that builds up whatever it passes over, or comes in contact with in its path. It's a very responsible energy. It takes care of all beneath it, you know? Like I said, it's an energy that builds up everything in its path and is constantly moving forward to the next thing. So, but positive, very good energy. very momentous, forward-moving energy. How do we move through this change with grace? How do we unstick ourselves and accept change? Here we go. Our final card. This is the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands is a card of being on the receiving end of criticism, possibly self-criticism or criticism from outside of yourself. And it's a card also of being on the defensive emotionally, feeling very defensive of yourself. And here we see that your integrity gives you the moral high ground, the power to be successful. It's that seeking of truth and having just the most integrity that you possibly could have. This leads you to being able to defend yourself. Being able to say, I don't have to listen to other people's opinions. I don't have to worry about other people's concerns about my choices, because I know that I am making the right choice from the depths of my heart and soul, right? So it's that integrity, knowing that your actions and your deepest values align, okay? And then we have here your financial security. That shift is going to come from daily work, improvement of your talents, so that when you have the opportunity to show them off, you are ready to go. And then that leads you to being in a position of power, being able to build up those around you, build up those beneath you, build up those in your path. Here we have a kind of whimsical section of the reading. It's kind of just having a belief in your heart that something positive will come to you, and being willing to wait until it gets to you patiently is very much the vibe of this column here. So inevitably the change is going to happen. It's just a matter of your actions aligning with your desire for change. Aligning with the person you want to be. Who do you want to be? What do you have to do to be that person? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves to get unstuck in this situation. And then as soon as you start really living like the person you want to be, taking action, it's very straight. This is a very straightforward reading. This isn't all like cups and wands. This isn't like all over the place. This is a very straightforward reading. This is a very grounded reading, and I like it a lot. If I keep talking, I'm just going to repeat myself over and over again. You got the message. It's do what you have to do. It feels like you already know, in a way, what you have to do in order to get yourself unstuck. You just kind of needed the confirmation that, yeah, the change may happen inevitably, but if you want it to speed up, you're going to have to make sure you're living like the person you want to be. All right. How do we live like the person we want to be? Give us a little bit of guidance, please. Ooh, how do we live like the person we want to be? Ooh, there we go. Money. All my finances are now in divine order. Love itself knows my needs and is the source for all. I don't cling to gain or fear loss. Every need will be met through offering all to the divine. Yes. Yeah. That makes sense. For this like very straightforward reading, this is someone who maybe was looking to seek more financial stability. So that financial stability, yes, would absolutely come from the combination of doing the hard work to improve your skills, to make sure you have the skills to, when you have the opportunity, show them off and then use them as part of a team and gain a leadership position. That makes sense. It makes sense that your integrity would give you more opportunities. It makes sense that hope and a positive outlook usually helps as well. And then the last piece of the puzzle is let go and let God. So that's your message. I'm very, very interested, if you are willing to share, what message you got from this reading that maybe I didn't say out loud. Maybe you saw some symbolism or heard me say something that made you think of something else. I'm very curious. I want to hear if you'd like to share anything that you felt was a message that maybe I glossed over. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate your time. I know you can spend it anywhere, so thank you for spending it with me. And I hope you learned something from this reading. I hope it helped you, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.